is a digital marketing agency for soil caring and earth caring businesses. What an amazing event that you have all been attending. And I'm so honored to be able to talk to you from all the way in Australia. But today I just wanted to talk to you about how we can reconnect with soil and soul. And I always find it interesting when I look at words, and the difference between the words soil and soul is the you and the I. And so when you and I can reconnect with our human spirit, our thoughts, our mind, our soil, our food, then that is where reconnection really starts. I am Italian, and we had a garden that we got to play in and we got to see the food grow. But unfortunately for many around the world, that is a privilege. That is not something that is there anymore. And so people are starting to become disconnected to where the food comes from, how the food is created, and the big part that farmers and growers and the agriculture, when done well with good intentions from a good spirit, can really nourish and feed the world. So I am Regen Ray, as they call me on the podcast. So about 6 to 7 years ago, I was working in marketing and growth and digital. And I discovered a company that was working with soil education. And as I was watching their content to promote and do marketing, I was just blown away with how powerful and important soil is. And it blew my mind so much that I basically decided that from now on, all my projects will involve soil. It's about educating soil. It's about moving soil to become more understood and more mainstream. And that's where I created Soil Connect. Soil Connect is a digital agency that works with earth caring businesses to advance their impact and grow their experience and customers. And by doing that, then Soil Connect can grow much larger and help more businesses. So if you're there today and you run a business, or you are looking to break into different markets, or you want to get some advice on digital, then Soil Connect is where you can hang out with me and the team here helping earth caring businesses, to new levels. I also started a tree planting project called MetaTrees. This is using a little bit of blockchain technology. I love tech and I'm a bit of a geek. And so when there's new innovation and when I can see that something is changing the way that people see the world and that new lens, I'm really interested in that. And so I started a tree planting project that was verified by blockchain technology, and we are planting those trees, 1,000 of them in a farm here in Australia. But the most exciting project that I do for passion and love is Secrets of the Soil podcast. And so the Secrets in the Soil podcast is where I get to have amazing conversations, and it has been running for about 2 years now. And I have dedicated conversations where we just talk about soil and our love and passion for soils. And we call our community soil lovers. And that's why I have this sticker here called I Love Soil, because we are soil lovers who are really doing, we are championing how amazing soil is and the changes that it can have on our planet. So I'll pop some links later for you to get more information about Secrets of the Soil. But the podcast is what keeps me really busy, and I have great conversations. And so I encourage you to go and listen to those conversations, but we become the voice of the soil, which is really exciting. So for me, I wanted to just talk about the fact that, at the moment we're in a world where agriculture is kind of bad. It's demonized, it's polluting, animals, causing carbon. But the thing for me is that it all comes down to mindset. And so I think the farm between our ears and our brain is the most important farm that we can really nurture. And we need to change that before any system changes. So this is my 6 stages framework that I like to apply when it comes to these new systems. And you're in an event today where you might get exposed some new ideas, some new thoughts. And so maybe this will help you at pillar number 1 to rethink. We really need to rethink the way that we're doing things. Clearly, what we've done so far hasn't given us the results that we need. Something's broken. It doesn't feel right. And lots of people are scratching their head going, what can we do differently? So we need to rethink the current models, the current systems. We then need to be curious. And I like to say, that you need to go and do the research. Don't wait for government. Don't wait for groups to do the research for you, because then it's going to be prescriptive, and then you have to worry about who funded that research. So go do your own research, go make up your own mind, become a free unit to navigate this planet and connect your own dots to what makes sense to you. And I think that's the most amazing time in history that we have at the moment, is that lots of people have followed the system, followed the prescription, did the right thing, and then they're left with a degraded farm that isn't growing, isn't getting the profits, isn't yielding, and they are struggling and thinking, why? I did everything that you told me to. So now is the time to research and rediscover, which leads into pillar 3. So you need to start creating your new truths, your new ideas, the new model that is going to bring our generations into the future. We have lots of advance in technology. We have tractors that drive themselves, GPS location, artificial intelligence, decision-making being made by machine learning rather than human observation. We could either advance into a really amazing, abundant world, or this could lead us to our destruction. And so we need to rediscover these systems and really work out which parts of the systems we want to cherry pick or be selective of to roll into the new future. And then we need to go and restore and rebuild. We need to change the way that we do things. We need to discover, the different ways that we can nurture soil, different ways that we can be connected with our customers, different ways that we can tell the story of amazing farmers and growers and this world of agriculture and the power of soil. And we restore that by changing the systems, by growing differently, trialing new things, being curious, and not following a one-size-fits-all model. And then as we start restoring the systems, things start to change. And this is one of the things that gives me goosebumps every time. Farmers that change their systems start seeing the results. They feel the results. They observe it. Something changes on the energy of their farm. It becomes more connected, more spiritual. The birds chirp differently. The bugs reappear. The animals reemerge. And the life becomes back, the life comes back to the farm. It becomes an ecosystem of thriving systems that once was no longer. And they think to themselves, this was broken a couple of years ago, and now I'm seeing all these results. And nature is amazing. It's very quick to start repairing. And the results is when we then start going into our sixth pillar, and that is rejoicing. And we celebrate. And most importantly, we share those results. We share in the celebration. And why do we do that? Is because we want to influence other people within our network to see the results, and then for them to be led to number one, to rethink, what am I doing that you're doing? And how did you get the results when I'm struggling? And this becomes a flywheel. A flywheel is something that just keeps turning and turning and turning. And the vision for the world that I want to live in is that we start making these changes where everyone really starts questioning the systems, asks better questions, and says, where did we go wrong? And for me personally, when I zoom out and look at the many different parts that make up the whole, there's a moment in the world timeline that I think has a bit of a line in the sand. But in 1971, the US dollar got removed from the gold standard. And for me, I find it ironic that it doesn't matter what chart I look at, whether it be for financial growth, for profit, for stock market, for heart disease, for diabetes, for obesity, for food and nutrition dropping, all the charts start around the 70s. So we've been living in this system where we're in this new money, this new way of just unlimited supply of money that is linked to debt and not gold. Before we had a limit. The planet said gold was going to be your resource. And until you find more gold or until gold becomes abundant, this is kind of the limit. And so every system fit in that. But then we removed ourselves from that and everything was unlimited. And so everything then became about profit. It became about more, bigger, faster. And then we've done that for about 50 to 70 years, that kind of window of change. And now we're starting to realize that everything's at its stress point. Everything feels like it's a bit broken. It's not working. It's not feeding the world anymore. How can it be that we are in the most abundant, time of life, and yet we have the most poverty, we have the most fear, we have the most uncertainty? And so we're starting to realize that these systems that we once latched onto to give us hope and to live the American dream or whatever, the big corporate dream, didn't really serve our soul and our spirit to give us the fulfillment. Because what that means is we became disconnected from everything. We put ourselves on square computers in square rooms, and we drive in square cars, and we have square windows, and we put ourselves in this box. We go into supermarkets and shopping centers, and we just expect food to be on the shelf and wrapped in plastic and with the most amount of shelf life that's been trucked around the world. Often I hear stories of produce leaving one country, being processed in another country, and then coming back to the same country and sold back to the original farmer in a different format. And I just think about all the mileage and the travel and the logistics that caused when we couldn't just produce things a little bit more locally. And so this time in history where we can look back and go, I can see that we have become disconnected. We don't know our farmers anymore. In fact, we don't even know what a tomato plant looks like. We don't even know what a pumpkin plant looks like. Do apples grow on a tree or under the ground? Like most people that are in our younger generation don't know how food is grown. They might be surprised that peanuts grow underground and that they're linked to the roots. They think that peanuts probably grow on trees. This is real information that comes across my view that we have disconnected ourselves from all parts of the system, and we don't ask the questions, where did this come from? Who grew this? What type of soil was it grown in? What system was used? And more importantly, what was the mindset? What was the intention of that farmer when that seed was planted? Was it the intention of abundance, that this food was going to nourish and feed and the souls of the humans? Or was it that this better grow because I'm about to lose my farm? And is this coming from scarcity? we're at a bit of a crossroad now, and especially with the regenerative movement, where no one really knows what to do with it. Are the practices in? Are the practices out? Do we need certification? When will someone tell me that I need to change my farm? And so regenerative agriculture has become very big. And I do worry that it could become greenwashed, where no one really knows what the word regenerative means in the future. The same as what's happened to natural, organic, all these words have been kind of butchered or manipulated by media and big corporations. So we need to be careful that we don't go down that same path, and that worries me. So that's why I think the best thing that we can do is forget about certification and move into this world of re-education. We need to educate ourselves on how to do things better. We need to ask better questions. We need to understand where the food is coming from and how we can play a big part. Whether you are a grower or you're a consumer, we are just as powerful. In fact, all growers need to consume, and all consumers could potentially grow. It might be a little bit smaller, but that first seed that you grow in your own backyard or in your balcony or at a community garden, that will start the curiosity of what else is possible. And I can't believe that I just grew this out of a small little seed. And so that changes the mindset. And I really believe that the regenerative movement and the way that we move into the future is really more important about understanding the mindset and changing the way that we have been educated to think and behave for decades now, if not centuries. I don't really know where this stems back from, but all I know is that we're in a system that doesn't feel like it's working and going to be able to set us up for the future. What did I do? I decided several years ago that I will do what I can to serve soil. My mission is to somehow, and doing things like this, educate the 8 billion people that are on the planet to have a better connection and a better understanding with the soil that's under our feet. Now, the Australian government and I think other governments are doing things to fast track that. One of the great projects that I've seen happen recently is that the Australian government funded a massive soil test project that farmers from all around Australia could sign up their farm to get their soil tests. This was the first, this may be the first time that farmers got soil tested and started asking better questions. Now that I have this soil test, what does that mean? What can I do? What are all these numbers and figures? And I think for the first time, we've got farmers who are more curious about what's happening under their feet than what's happening in Mars or on the moon or in our deep oceans. And I think that's really exciting because a lot of the answers that we have been seeking on how we're going to feed the world really is under our feet. It's about having better soils, because when we have better soils, we have better water systems, we have better, biodiversity. And what that means is that our food quality increases. So better soils means better food. Now, whether an animal eats that or a human eats that, then we are eating the animal or we're absorbing the nutrients of the grass or the feed and the biodiversity of where that produce came from, being crops or livestock, or meat, or vegetables and fruit. And so when we are starting to eat more nutrient-dense food, we start realizing that we don't need 3 apples to feel full. We can just have that one nutrient-dense apple. And we don't need these hyper-processed foods in order to feel full, but we are nutrient deficient. We then don't need to move to supplements to supplement our diet because we're getting a lack of nutrients from the food that we're eating. And so these systems start healing themselves. And then because we eat better quality food that's higher in nutrient, then our disease and health starts to increase. And the area that I feel like is really exciting at the moment is the links between the gut biome, which is being studied to link and look like the soil biome, which I thought, is no coincidence. This is the way nature intended it. And then when our gut biome starts increasing in its health, then so does our mental health and our body health and our energy levels. And when we feel more energized, we can go and do more projects that are going to change this world that we live in. I have had many conversations with people all around the world, and there is a common theme. We need to slow down, we need to observe, and we need to just stop and think about the way that we are doing things. Sometimes we see these things on the media. Are they there to really create change? Or are they there for someone to now start profiting from? Are they there to, create fear and uncertainty and doubt in the marketplace? At the end of the day, the big systems make a lot of money when things move around and change hands. Every time they change hands along that supply chain, there is more money feeding up into the system. So by us being a little bit more informed and being able to go and buy directly from the source, that is our shortcut to get better quality food and also slow down this massive profiting system that has become unstoppable and an unlimited amount since the 70s. The little gift that I can leave you with at the moment is this guide. If you scan the QR code, or you can take a photo on your phone and click the QR code later. But I've put together 8 eye-opening documentaries that I think all soil lovers or people who want to become soil lovers from around the world should go and watch. And there's some amazing documentaries that are on this list. They are accessible mainly online through streaming services, so you shouldn't have a problem being able to find them. Some of them have closed caption and translations as well. But if you don't get to watch the documentary, at least go and find other documentaries and start changing your mind and seeing the world from a different lens. So on that note, thank you so much for listening to me talk about my passion for soil. And I hope that I can become a spokesperson for soil with my podcast. And so if you want to continue these amazing conversations that I have, go to secretsofthesoil.com, where you can, or just Google in any of your podcast players, or if you download the guide, you will get emails that will then lead you to the podcast. Secrets of the Soil is the podcast where I just have amazing chats with people that are doing things a bit differently, whether it be organic, regenerative, syntropic, and sometimes not even that, just composting with worms in your own backyard. There's something there for small to large, or for those who are just super passionate to learn more about soil. So I'll leave you with my catchphrase that I say every time at the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening to me. And until next time, get outside, get your hands dirty, and keep digging deeper in